Charles Osgood.
Just a place to put on a show. That's all two women on New York's Long Island were looking for some time back. Not for big Broadway-style productions, but for offbeat, sometimes risky experiments in live theater. As Troy Roberts tells us, they found the place all right. And now thousands of theatergoers have found it too.
Summer in the Hamptons. The exclusive getaway in the East End of New York's Long Island. A beach community of charming villages and 300-year-old whaling towns.
But everybody's on their way in, and with the scripts. Okay, all the new scripts.
But to one small group of friends, it's a place to live and work in a world they created on a risk and a dream.
I don't think that's...
She may end up with it.
Tickets to what?
We sit up there at those desks and we look out the window at the water and the boats going by and the windmill. We're reading plays and we're casting and we're talking about creative stuff. And there are moments when we look at each other and we go, is this allowed? And like any second now, somebody's going to go, hold it a second. You're having too much fun down there. That's not allowed.
Oh my God.
The 7-year-old Bay Street Theater Festival has become one of the country's preeminent regional theaters, nurtured under artistic directors Sybil Christopher
So he said he would try this weekend.
and Emma Walton.
So we see. Okay.
I just think it would be such a great...
The relationship between the two women goes back to Emma's birth. Her parents, actress Julie Andrews and theater and film designer Tony Walton, were longtime friends of Sybil's, an actress, respected producer, and the former Mrs. Richard Burton.
Then, of course, I've known Emma forever, since she was a baby. And
Emma had dreamed of starting a theater for years, but never found the right property until she stumbled upon a former torpedo factory 8 years ago. The last tenants had used this space as a roller disco, and no one knew if it could be turned into a viable theater. But somehow instinctively, Emma felt she had found the home for the Bay Street Theater.
I wanted to talk to you about the reading you're going to do with Richard.
Sybil saw the theater's potential too, but not everyone did at first.
No, they didn't.
They thought you were a bunch of kooks.
Yeah, dilettantes, New Yorkers. And now they
Kooky
don't.
dilettantes.
Yeah, no. no, they did. We know they did. And that hasn't happened, you know. But people who were genuinely fond of me said, Sybil, 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 you know.
To help establish Bay Street, Sybil and Emma tapped into the Hamptons' natural resource of acclaimed artists and literary figures who live here. Bay Street pledged to create a refuge for the artists, allowing them to experiment without the pressure typical of commercial theater.
We always say mostly what we're looking for is plays with heart. That's the best way to describe the kind of kernel of soul that we look for in a play.
One friend, Joe Pintaro, opened the first season with a play about the lives of local fishermen, affirming the theater's commitment to the community.
Good luck wherever you're going.
Ah, to hell in a handbasket.
This season's current play, House, starring Richard Dreyfuss and Marsha Mason, tackles the emotions often raised during the buying and selling of a home, in a story also set in the East End of Long Island.
Crazy. Why is being crazy so abhorrent to you? Do you think I'm sane? Please. let's just take it as a given that both of us in this situation are totally nuts. All right.
Dreyfuss and Mason play husband and wife.
Why was this the right project and the right time for a reunion?
The money. It's the money.
It's the money.
I like
right.
I like to work for nothing.
Now, to me, that was funny, because there you were making fun of the theater, which can actually do some good in the world occasionally, conceivably.
House is a rare joint writing venture by Bay Street veterans and area homeowners, playwrights John Robin Bates and Terrence McNally.
I consider this my hometown in a funny way, more than New York. So to contribute something to the cultural life of my community means a lot to me, and I think Robbie feels.
This notion of developing new work here is what the theater could be about in a really lovely way.
Is it a comfort to work at a theater that's free from most or commercial pressure?
It's not just a comfort, I think it's vital.
But it's not all bliss backstage.
You be careful. Career on the skids, Miss Callis.
This season's first production, a play about Elsa Maxwell and J. Edgar Hoover, was to have starred Elaine Stritch. But just before opening night, everyone, including Stritch, thought it best she step out. The author rescued the play by stepping in.
It was a very hard decision for us because we knew there'd be repercussions at the box office. But then in the end, I think it's, you know, it's what we should do. We should have done it, and we did it, you know. But there wasn't a dull moment.
Myrtle, page 2.
During the middle of that crisis, quiet rehearsals were underway for the next production, a new work by Horton Foote. The Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright New Bay Street would be ideal for the world premiere of his A Coffin in Egypt.
First of all, they're very supportive of the artist, and that they encourage people to take risks and not do just the conventional kind of thing. Sometimes that's useful to find out if it doesn't work, you know. It saves everybody a lot of pain if you just find it out soon enough and you can try to fix it.
A room with a view and you, and no one to worry us, no one to hurry us through this dream we found.
The opportunity to mount a new production of Noel and Gertie attracted Twiggy and her husband Lee Lawson. Noel and Gertie was a hit, and while the summer season did well, even if every seat for every performance had sold, that still would provide only 50% of this year's operating costs. So, like many not-for-profit arts organizations, Bay Street must depend on contributions to survive.
Do you want 4,100? Thank you, 4,100.
Their major annual fundraiser is the Summer Gala, hosted this year by actor Alec Baldwin.
Anything. They keep people off balance, and I think that the audience here is changing. It's not a set group of people either. And so there's no, I guess the word's pretense to it, you know. It's like fresh every year.
So we came to New York and we married.
Bay Street benefactor Elaine Steinbeck donated one of her most precious mementos from her husband John for auction.
I said the first one that comes off is buy copy. And he
It was the first copy of the first edition of East of Eden.
So I hope that somebody here will buy it tonight to support the Bay Street Theater.
Someone did buy it.
And selling at 50,000.
Oh my God!
Helping to ensure another season and the reward of entertaining new audiences.
I think that we've made a lot of people think, and I think we've made a lot of people very happy, you know, and they've had a good time, I hope. I'm sure they have.
It was a great one.
A room with a view.